Hi, I'm Rob Word. Welcome to A Word on Westerns, where today we are still ensconced in one of the greatest movie locations ever. I'm talking about Lone Pine, California. And here today is Robert Carradine. He never shot here, but he's here as our guest, and he's going to tell us about some of the Westerns that he shot in other places. Bobby, welcome.
Hello, Rob.
How are you, pal?
How the heck are you?
I'm good. I'm sweating.
Hey, don't let him see you sweat, Rob.
Okay.
You'll be all right.
So, how do you like Lone Pine?
I love it. I mean, this is literally a one-horse town. I mean, you blink, you miss it. But it's like that little section of town is just jam-packed full of all this cool stuff.
Well, we are in the Chamber of Commerce building that used to be the Lone Pine Hotel.
This right here,
This
where
right
we
here,
are?
where we are, right here.
Wow.
Yes,
Cool.
So there is history, and there is one light, one stoplight in the middle of town.
There is?
Yeah.
I haven't seen it.
Oh, man, you blinked then. Like you said, you can't
Or I
blink.
ran it.
Now, I'm sure you probably ran it with that machine you have. Tell us about your car.
My car is a 2014 Dodge Police Pursuit, and it's a Charger. It's got the Hemi engine. It has a limiter that kicks in at 148. Not that I would know that. And, you know, the perks of driving a police vehicle in Los Angeles, it eases up the parking availability a little bit. And it kind of helps you get away with U-turns a little bit. I mean, there's just little perks like that. I mean, occasionally you get shot at, but other than that, it's a great car.
Is it bulletproof?
No.
Oh. Well, you can't have everything.
No, you can't.
Doesn't Keith have a car just like yours?
He does. He finally, he said to me one day, like, I don't know, 3 or 4 years ago, he said, "What is it with you and these cop cars?" I said, "Have you ever driven one?" He said, "No." I said, "Here, drive it." So we're driving along for about 15 or 20 minutes. He turns to me and he goes, "I get it." Because the way they feel, the vehicle dynamics on these cars, it's like a four-door sports car. They really, they're very tightly sprung, and they work really well. The steering ratio is really short, so you can turn the wheels from lock to lock just like that.
Wow. Some good wheelies, some good U-turns, fast?
Possibly. The tires are so expensive, I don't do that stuff.
Well, anyway, enough about cars. Let's talk about the long riders, because you had told me the sequence that I had never figured out before. About
The windows?
About the windows with the horses. How do you get horses to jump through altogether a window?
Well, Rob, I'll tell you how you do that.
Tell us how that happened.
The town that we shot in, there was a space between two of the stores. I mean, just like a lot. So what the Wranglers did was they would take the horses and they would gallop them down Main Street and turn and run through that lot. And they did that for about a week. And then they put up a storefront, but with nothing in it, just the storefront. And they rode them through that. Then they put in the bottom and the top where the window's gonna be.
To jump?
Yeah, it's just so they could run through. Mm-hmm. No, they didn't jump. They just kept running through that open store face. And then on the day, they put in the thing with the glass. And they didn't know it was there.
Wow.
And they just burst through.
How many cameras were used to shoot that? Because it's like slow motion and multi-shots. It's just great.
I'd have to look at the sequence again, which I'll get to do tomorrow night. But I would guess probably 5 or 6.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's such a great sequence, too.
Well, also, if you look carefully on the exit when they're running out the back of the store, one of those horses does a somersault with the rider on him. Nobody got hurt.
And that was not a tripwire.
It was not a tripwire.
Was that real glass?
Of course not.
Oh, what was it?
It's candy glass.
Really?
Yeah, and you could actually take a piece and taste it. It's sweet. It's sugar glass.
That's an interesting way, though, to have tricked those horses into doing it because it looks so natural when they do that.
Well, yeah, I mean, these wranglers really knew what they were doing in terms of teaching them the path, and they just drilled it into their pea brains, and on the day, they went through.
Well, I know they don't ever want to hurt their own horses. They're trained movie horses. Those are hard to come by.
Yes, they are.
And so-
Every time I do a film, I want to get the horse. I always try to get my horse, and they're always like, no, 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 no. Because, a good movie horse is worth gold.
That's a wonderful shootout, so well choreographed and staged, and the music, the sound go wah, 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 wah.
I'm so impressed with Walter Hill. I'm so glad that in my career I've gotten to work with so many great directors, but especially with Walter.
Yeah. Well, he's just finished a new Western.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did he call you?
No. I called him, he didn't call me back.
Well, anyway, you were in a classic that gets better with every viewing, The Long Riders.
I think so, and I think that the people at the film festivals, they tend to respond really well to it.
Well, they don't make a Western quite with that dynamic, and part of the dynamic is it's basically a true story of
Well, it's a
Jesse
true
James
story, and his gang was made up of brothers. It was him and his brother, the Miller brothers, the Younger brothers, and the Ford brothers. And we have all brothers playing brothers.
It's amazing.
Yeah, it was really great.
Now, did you and James Keach come together to say, why don't we all work together in something like this?
It wasn't quite like that. I was on this show, a television movie with Jack Palance and James called The Hatfields and the McCoys. And we were sitting around at lunch one day. He said, hey, man, me and Stace had been talking about this idea. And he laid it out, right? He says, what do you think? I said, man, what do you think? I think that'd be great. Are you kidding? And a mere 7 years later, it came to fruition. At some point in that 7-year stretch, we were hanging out with the Bridges, and we tried to talk them into playing the Ford brothers. And Jeff says, I don't want to be the guy that shoots Jesse in the back.
I can understand that.
Oh, yeah, no, my father shot Jesse in the back.
Yeah.
And was it just called Jesse James?
It was Jesse James, yes.
Right.
With Tyrone Power, and Henry
Yeah.
Fonda played Frank James, and
Yeah.
then they did the sequel. It was so popular, they did the sequel, and it was your dad with Henry Fonda and the return of Frank James.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, anyhow, when he shot Jesse James, he said kids used to come up to him and go, hi, mister, aren't you the guy that shot Jesse James? He'd go, why, yes, son, I am. And they'd kick him.
Now, your dad was such an icon in great movies of the 30s, but he had started earlier. What was his big break in the 30s that said to the casting people and the studios, let's put this guy in?
I think it was
getting great
probably it was probably The Prisoner of Shark Island. That was his first starring
That was
role.
John Ford, wasn't it?
I think it was.
Yeah.
And before that, he did The Tolerable David, which I think was his first film. And the way that he got it was somebody didn't show up. He'd been hanging around the studio lots, like on and off for months. And one day somebody didn't show up, and the director said, go get that skinny son of a bitch with the deep voice. And that's how he got his first job.
Well, your dad was a lover of Shakespeare, too, wasn't he?
He had his own company.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So did that Shakespeare love rub off on any of the brothers?
A little bit on David, a little less on Keith, and zip on me.
Why is that?
I don't know. I think because you have to memorize, you have to memorize so much stuff. And also to try to make sense out of Shakespeare, I mean, you got to love it, or it's going to be like impossible and painful.
Well, obviously your dad did love it, and he loved a large family.
Oh, yeah.
So growing up, in and out, he was married several times, though.
Oh, yes.
Oh, well,
Let me count. 1, 2, 3, 4.
you sure you got them all?
I got them all.
All right.
Yeah.
So then there was a lot of passed around to the kids going to, I'm staying with my mom here, and now I'm staying with dad. How did that work?
Well, I was always in the house that had my dad in it, and the mothers would change. But I was in the house with my dad.
So I know that we had lunch the other day out in Calabasas, and you said, well, gee, across the parking lot here's where my dad had a house, and you were very young living out there, and
Yeah,
it was in the wilderness back then.
Yeah, 2 to 5 years old, I lived with my family in the Leonis Adobe, which is now a National Historic Monument. Have you been in it?
No.
It's pretty great.
Yeah.
I fell off the second-story balcony.
How?
I crawled through the fence. It wasn't like it is now, where everybody's watching you. I mean, I was just crawling around doing whatever I was doing, and I fell off the balcony.
Onto what?
A pile of freshly sifted dirt. My dad was working on his garden, and he'd been sifting dirt. You know,
You
for
were
a couple
very
of days.
lucky little
Very
boy.
lucky, because right next to the pile of dirt was the rock path.
Wow.
I was very lucky. A lot of people say, well, that explains it, but whatever.
So, growing up in an acting family with your dad with his own Shakespearean company, and you're acting, I know you made your feature film debut in The COWBOYS with John Wayne.
Correct.
What had you done prior to that?
Nothing.
Really?
Well, no, that's not true. He did a play in summer stock called Tobacco Road, and I was the understudy for Keith. And I thought, what's an understudy? So it was explained to me, and I thought, well, he's not going to leave. Why would he leave? So I said, yeah, I'll be the understudy. Why not? Sure enough, he left with 1 week left in the run to go do McCabe and Mrs. Miller with Warren Beatty and Julie Christie, and I had to go on. So that was my first job.
Were you nervous?
Oh, yes.
How'd you do?
I did real well on the first night, and then I discovered this phenomenon in the theater called second night slump. And what that is because you're so proud of how well you did the night before, you kind of relax a little bit the next night. And I took the liberty of watching my dad deliver this long monologue that I have one line in the middle of, and then he keeps going. And I took the liberty of watching how good he was acting. I thought, man, he's walking around me chasing this guy, trying to talk him out of his turnips. And I'm watching him, and I'm going, man, the old man, he is really a good actor. Why'd he stop talking? Oh! So that wasn't good.
Oh, no.
He came backstage between the acts, and he opens my door. He didn't even knock. He goes, Robert, don't you ever leave me with egg all over my face again. Slam.
Wow.
So I learned a good lesson.
Well, when Keith left, he was making his film debut in A Gunfight.
Right, with Kirk Douglas.
Excuse me, y'all. I'm looking for Abe Cross and Will Teneray.
Now, this here's Mr. Teneray. This is Mr. Cross.
How do you do? I'll fight one of you. Either one, it don't matter.
Hey, young fella. What do you want to fight for?
Money. Same reason you wanted each other. Figure me, if I kill one of you, then the other one has to fight me for the money come Sunday. Now, ain't that right?
That's your reason. Now, what's ours?
Keep from getting killed, I guess.
That's enough from all of you.
He played a gunfighter in that and also in the Altman film, but boy, is he good in that Altman movie.
Wasn't he great?
Ooh.
Yeah.
Did he really fall in that ice?
Yes, he really did. And if you watch the film again and you keep your eyes on his face when he comes up out of the water, the expression he's making is appropriate for ice water.
Really good acting.
Yeah, he did well.
Have you worked again with Keith since The Long Riders?
Yes, he had a television series that was shot in Toronto called Fast Track. And I shot a couple episodes of that with him. That was really fun.
Sounds like it's about cars.
It's a car thing, yeah. But also, we're both musicians, and I've been on stage with him several times playing music.
Well, you are an accomplished guitarist. I know you got a call from him. He was cutting an album, and he needed you to perform guitar with him.
Yeah, he asked me to do that.
Did you have a natural ability with a guitar? How did that happen?
It was my first love. I mean, I was a little kid. I was like 8 or 9 or something, and I was playing the guitar by putting my fingers on the fretboard and messing around like that before I figured out that you hold it like this. And I didn't even own a guitar till I was 16. I was just borrowing guitars whenever I could find them. And now, of course, I've got like 12 of them. Figures.
Are these like collectible guitars?
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah? Like what?
Yeah.
What's the coolest guitar you have?
Probably a Mossman Golden Era Custom. It looks like a Martin D45, except instead of block inlay on the neck, it has a vine, a mother of pearl vine that goes up the neck, which is really nice. It's really nice.
What do you like to play the most of your guitars? Which one?
That one, I've also got a Martin OM 28. It's 35 years old, dead mint, and it sounds incredible. And it's a little bit thinner than the Dreadnought guitars, so, you know, I like to play that one.
I know Keith has come out with a couple of albums and even got an Oscar for I'm Easy.
Yeah.
Have you ever done an album of your own?
Well, I've played on other people's albums, quite extensively, in fact, on Mayor Winningham's album. I also played for another guy named John Andrew Parks III, and that album got some kind of awards or something. But Kenny Rogers wound up doing one of the songs on that album, and they even used my licks. I thought that was really cool. They're playing my lick that I wrote.
Now, did they copy your licks or actually use the same?
No, they
track?
copied it.
Oh,
Yeah.
what do you do?
Copying is the best compliment or something? That one?
The greatest flattery.
A
Greatest
form of flattery is copying, yeah.
Yeah,
So
well,
that was pretty neat.
let me ask about John Wayne, because that film with Bruce Dern, it's still such a classic, The Cowboys.
Yeah.
And all those kids, you were the oldest of the kids. Are you still in touch with any of them?
I am, actually. The kid that played Stuttering Bob, Sean Kelly, he and I talk every few months.
Oh, nice. Did he continue acting?
No, he got into something else. But I just got a phone number on A. Martinez.
Oh,
And
nice.
we have traded messages, and that's as close as we've gotten so far. But, you know how it is. You're busy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Well, I know you talked him into doing the Cowboys series.
I did. And that show wasn't quite as good as a film.
Oh, well, hardly anything is, you know. Pat Wayne says the same thing about the Rounders. The Rounders TV series he did,
Yeah.
even though Burt Kennedy directed several of those,
Right.
is not even close to the Rounders feature film with Glenn Ford and Henry Fonda. And well, gee, really. But I appreciate you being here, Bobby. Always
Thank you,
a
Rob.
pleasure. You know, it's great to see you.
I always adore being interviewed by you because
Oh,
your
you're-
questions are good.
Well, it's more of a conversation, wouldn't you say?
It is, but you know what you're talking about. I don't have to tell you how many interviews I've been on where people have not done their homework. Drives me nuts.
Well, just say no.
Okay, I'll just say no.
Thanks for being here.